And now to the latest twist in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. Prosecutors say text messages read in court reveal what Lori and her husband Chad were writing to each other just days before her children were killed. They include a discussion over the children's so-called death percentages. ABC's Kana Whitworth is in Moscow, Idaho with the latest.
Thousands of text messages between the so-called doomsday mom, Lori Vallow Daybell, and her husband Chad read aloud in court by the FBI, detailing the couple's most intimate thoughts in the days and weeks before the murder of Lori's children, 7-year-old JJ and 16-year-old Tylee. On August 7th, 2019, Lori texted Chad, "We are both so tired of taking care of demons. We are weary. Please ask the Lord to take them." Days later, on August 10th, Lori texted Chad again, "Do you think there is a perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children and we just have to wait for it to be carried out?" Chad's response, "There is a plan being orchestrated for the children." Prosecutors allege just 3 weeks later, JJ and Tylee were murdered and buried in shallow graves in Chad's backyard. The FBI saying on July 18th, 2019, 2 months before the children were killed, Chad texted Lori he had been instructed to focus efforts on Hillary, so I will. Lori replied, "Okay, find out her percentage for me and JJ's." Chad writes back, "She's at 0.13.
Hillary is the name of the entity that allegedly possessed or inhibited Tylee Ryan's body. The closer an individual was to 0 in some instances, or in this instance with JJ, 100, the closer they were to their death.
The couple are also charged with the murder of Chad's ex-wife, Tammy. Just 2 days before Tammy's death, Chad texted Lori, "Hello, sweet angel. Bad news about Tammy. The short version is she has been switched and she is in limbo. A level 3 demonic entity is in her body." The defense arguing the majority of the texts on Lori's phone indicated she was a good mother to her children. And Diane, Lori pleading not guilty. Her defense team arguing, isn't it possible that all these text messages are part of a big fantasy? To which that former FBI special agent replied, absent the 3 people being killed, yes. Diane.
Kana Whitworth in Moscow, Idaho, thank you. And ABC News contributor, host at Law and Crime Network, Brian Buckmeyer, joins me now for more. Brian, how important are these texts, and are they enough to convict Lori, or could they help her in some way?
Dan, these texts are incredibly important for the prosecution. Don't forget that 3 of these charges are conspiracy to commit murder for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy, along with additional charges for murder. So these messages between Chad and Lori, although somewhat cryptic, we now know because of previous testimony what it means to have a demonic spirit in you, the casting. The closer you get to 0, the closer you're going to get casted out, so to speak. These are now the connective tissue as to the conspiracy that Lori and Chad are in on some form of murder.
Brian, what kind of challenge does this now pose to Lori's defense?
It's the question of how do you excuse her behavior? How do you either point the finger at Chad or say that she wasn't in on the conspiracy as much as she would? It becomes very difficult. Either you can argue, and I'm not sure it's going to really work, she really believed this. She wasn't conspiring to murder. She believed in this spiritualness of casting out spirits, and there's no concept of actually dying. She thought they'd become better, but I don't think that passes the lab test. I know many people have considered that she might testify. That's still her right, and I don't know if she will or will not, but that could be a Hail Mary for her defense.
Now, the defense argued that most of the text on Lori's phone shows she was a good mother to her kids. Do you think we'll see her take the stand at some point to try to tell her side of this story?
I think it's going to be very difficult. The fear of her taking the stand is there are a lot of questions that haven't been answered that I think are going to be difficult for her to excuse away. But we have seen her participate a lot in her own defense during the trial, and ultimately it is her right to testify. Her lawyers can explain to her why it might be beneficial or detrimental to her case, but I don't know. I don't think it's the smartest idea to testify. Explaining a few good text messages to then have to confront by the really bad text messages of calling your children demons and having to get rid of them, I think it's a difficult hill to climb.
And Brian, earlier in this trial, a judge found Lori unfit to stand trial. So could mental health play a role in this case going forward?
Yes, but in a different way than most people consider. To be considered unfit to stand trial means that you do not understand the proceedings or cannot participate in your own defense with your defense attorney. That's different than at the time a crime occurred, you were not mentally fit to understand or appreciate right from wrong. She was found unfit. She is now fit, hence why the trial is going forward. And because Idaho doesn't have a mental health defense or an insanity defense, she can't use that ultimately to say I'm guilty or not guilty by one reason or another. But it could come in play in terms of her mens rea, what she knew to be the crime, which I don't think really works. But more importantly, it could come into sentencing when the judge does consider everything about Lori Vallow Daybell if and or when she is convicted.
So what are you watching for? What happens next in this case, Brian?
So we do hear rumblings that the prosecution's case will be ending sometime around this week. The major question is whether or not the defense is going to put on a case. Is Lori Vallow Daybell going to take the stand? I'm not really a betting man, but if I was, I would probably say no, but it is her right, and she could wow us all. I don't think it'd be very beneficial to her case, but I want to see if she does take the stand, what does she have to say about why she was not looking for her children when they were gone for so long? I think that's a big X on her case so far, along with these text messages. And then closing arguments. How is the defense going to wrap this up and say the prosecution hasn't proven their case when it seems like there's little to no reasonable doubt that she at least participated in these murders, even if it hasn't been proved that she did it herself?
All right, Brian Buckmeyer, we appreciate the analysis as always. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.